Thank you, Brian. Carolyn, and Tinker. Thank all of you. Good morning, everyone. Happy to be here to talk to you on this topic. Brian sent me that song on Thursday. I think I went through at least a half a box of Kleenex with that song. So, since it's Memorial Day weekend, let's start with prayer for those who have given their lives for our country. Dear God, we know you have them safe in your arms, that they are with you in all your glory. Help them to feel our gratitude for their sacrifice for us, so that we can live free, so that we can set our lives on the course that we choose. And we pray also for their loved ones, their families and friends. Send your angels to comfort them in their grief, and help them to know, too, just how grateful we are for the sacrifice their loved ones made for us. Amen. Okay, I've been anxious to do this topic for some time, and so I'm really looking forward to sharing all this with you. We're going to start with some spiritual concepts, and then we're going to move into examples, and I have a bunch of them. So the purpose of this talk is to explore the process of staying connected with our loved ones after they have completed their physical life on earth and have transitioned to the other side, to identify the unique ways that our loved ones may try to communicate with us, to understand that what we can do to help facilitate that communication. Now, this talk applies to anyone close to you who has transitioned to the other side. It can be spouses, significant others, parents, siblings, children, grandparents, aunts, uncles, friends, colleagues, anybody that you had a relationship with who's on the other side. When I use the word death, I'm referring to the physical body. Our soul, our eternal self, our spiritual self never dies. And when I use the word loss, I'm referring to the loss of our loved one's physical presence. Their spiritual presence is never lost. So let's start with Scripture. Matthew 17, 1 through 3. After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. There he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. Just then there appeared before them Moses and Elijah talking with Jesus. In John 14:12, very truly I tell you, whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing, and they will do even greater things than these, because I am going to the Father. So I find it incredible that Jesus demonstrates after-death communication to us. And he brings Peter, James, and John with him to witness it. And he talks to Moses and Elijah, who have long left their physical presence on earth. And then he tells us we can do the same thing. So I've got a number of diagrams to speak to. Let's put up diagram number 1. I used this one when I gave my talk on surviving grief a few years ago. So when we lose a loved one, we've got two sides of the equation. We've got the physical and we've got the spiritual. And on the physical side, it's a total loss. I mean, it truly is. They're no longer here on a physical level. That's where the emotional pain is on the physical side, and that's where the separation is. And we feel that separation. The closer they were to us, the more we feel that separation. And usually the deeper the emotional pain. On the spiritual side, there's actually no loss at all because our spiritual connection remains. There's no pain on that side, and there's oneness. So the more that we set our mindset on the spiritual and less on the physical, the easier the process goes for us as we deal with the loss of a loved one. So our job, let's put up diagram number 2, is to redefine the relationship that we had with them, which was physical and spiritual, and now become spiritual only because their physical presence is gone. The human mind is tremendously resistant to letting go of the physical connection. It just doesn't want to do that. And so this looks easy to put on a diagram, but actually it's fairly difficult to do because we have to let go of our physical attachments. Ronnie sent me a message not too long ago where she talked about connecting with her as she is now, not as she was then, meaning as she is now in spirit. So that's the task that we have, is to connect with spirit, their spirit. Okay, diagram number 3, I call this the frequency gap. And we've got vibrational frequency on the left-hand side from low to high, and at the moment of their transition, our loved one is suddenly transported into a higher vibrational frequency instantaneously, and we remain at the lower vibrational level. Communicating with our loved one across this frequency gap is a whole new ballgame. We both have to learn new ways to communicate with each other. It's similar to learning a whole new language. Now, one thing I want to point out is where they are, they see everything, okay? So they see everything you're doing. They hear everything you say. They know what you're feeling, and they know what you're thinking as well. So there's a couple ways that you can talk to them. You can talk to them out loud when you're alone. I don't recommend doing that around other people. They give you weird looks and look at you like you're kind of crazy. But you can do it in your mind because they do hear your thoughts. And that will help you to focus on them. So the real difficulty in the communication is us getting their messages. They get all of yours all the time. So that part you don't have to worry about. So there's things that we can do to help facilitate that process. Let's go to diagram number 4. Raising our vibration. Same vibrational frequency arrow on the left-hand side. At the higher vibration is joy, peace, and love. At the low end is anger, resentment, judgment, and resistance. So if we're spending time in those lower frequency levels, communication is going to be more difficult because the gap is bigger, right? So there's activities that we can participate in to help raise our vibration. And those are prayer, meditation, compassion, forgiveness, gratitude, love, kindness, acceptance, and patience. Now, the cool thing is that when we're doing those things, it also enhances our ability to receive spiritual guidance from all sources. God, Jesus, guardian angels, spirit guides. Increasing our vibration helps tremendously in that department as well, in addition to helping hear messages from our loved one. I do want to point out that in that Bible passage, Jesus went up on a high mountain, which is symbolic of lifting up. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as light. All 3 of those are symbolic of a higher vibrational level. So he was teaching us in the process of doing that. And I do want to hit acceptance a little bit because it can be one of the tougher ones. But let's go to diagram number 5. What acceptance looks like. Any challenge in life, not just the loss of a loved one, but any challenge that you're going through. The mindset we want to be in is, I see the situation. There must be a lesson here. I let go of any internal resistance. I ask Spirit to help me deal with this. I am open to guidance. I am ready to learn. So if you're trying to receive communication from a loved one on the other side and you're not getting it, look at the rest of your life and see if there's somewhere that you're in resistance. Could be something totally unrelated to them, but if you're in resistance or not in acceptance, it's going to make the communication more difficult. Okay, story time. All these stories are personal or from people who I know personally, okay? So, my very first experience with after-death communication was in 1991. I was 41 years old. I was born in 1950, so it's real easy to figure out how old I am. And I didn't know anything about it. I really didn't. I was studying A Course in Miracles, so I was getting more and more tuned into spirit, but I didn't know anything about communication with souls on the other side. I hadn't heard about it, hadn't experienced it. So my parents' brother, my dad's brother lived in his neighborhood in Winter Park, and all the rest of the family was up north in the Fall River, Massachusetts area. My parents were up there visiting relatives. My uncle, my dad's younger brother, who lived just a couple houses from him, had a heart attack and he passed. So my dad calls me and says, I'm staying up here because he's going to be buried up here. We're going to have the funeral up here, so take care of things at your end. So I did. I got in touch with the funeral home. I got a hold of my uncle's daughter who was there with her small son, got him over to my house so they wouldn't be alone. Just took care of all that stuff, got his body shipped up north. The day of the funeral, I stayed down here. I was on an every other Friday off work schedule, and it was Friday, and I was off. So I said, well, I'm going to go fly. So we can put that first glider picture up. I've been flying gliders since I was 27 years old. And the one in the front on that picture is mine, and it's the one I was flying when this experience that I'm about to share with you happens. It's not uncommon to fly with eagles in a glider. They're not afraid of us because we don't make noise. Actually, any kind of bird, hawks, osprey. So I've been flying with lots of eagles, a lot of golden eagles in the Sierra Nevada, and a lot of bald eagles here in Florida. Let's put up that first bald eagle. So this is a classic bald eagle with the white head and the white tail, if you could see it. And they don't get that white head and white tail till they're about 4 to 5 years old. It takes a while for that to develop. A lot of people call this a mature bald eagle because it has the white head and the white tail. And before that, we can put up that other one. It's often called an immature bald eagle. Now, it's still a big bird, almost full grown at 3 years, but it doesn't have the white head and tail. And you can see in this picture that the neck and head feathers are turning from a dark color towards white, and they're going through this reddish phase. Okay. So I'm up there flying around in a column of rising air circling. Not uncommon for eagles to join with you, come to you. This eagle comes to me. It's an immature bald eagle, and I enjoyed that very much. And it stayed with me for a little while, and then it headed off. And a couple minutes later, it came back again, which is a bit unusual. They usually just say hi once, and then they're off doing their thing. Gets a little closer. And I enjoyed that just as much. Always enjoyed flying with eagles. And it headed off, and a couple minutes later, it came back a third time, which was very unusual, and this time it got incredibly close to me. And I was sure it was inside my wing line. It was on my left-hand side. So I'm looking at the eagle. I can see his head and his eyes and everything. He's looking at me. And about that moment, I noticed the redness on the neck feathers. Well, my uncle's nickname was Red. He had red hair growing up, so everybody called him Red. His first name was Leon. Nobody called him that. Everybody called him Red, and all his kids called him Uncle Red. And I got the connection, and it was strong. And I said out loud, nobody else around, good thing. I said out loud, Red, is that you? And in that instant, I heard him telepathically say to me, I'm doing great, thanks for all your help. And that eagle tucked its wings and just immediately shot off and headed out doing whatever it was doing. I was really lit up by this. I mean, it was an incredible experience. I looked at my watch, it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So when I got home, I talked to my mom about the funeral. I asked her how it was. She said it was good. And I said, what was going on at 1 o'clock? And she said, well, the service hadn't started yet. The casket was open. He didn't look good. So we closed the casket at 1 o'clock. I told her the story. She loved it. I wrote it down 3 times because he had 3 daughters, and I mailed it off to all 3 of them, and they loved it as well. In all the times I've been flying, and as many eagles as I've flown with, that's the first and only time an immature bald eagle has come up to me in the air. Lots of other ones, but not those. Okay, we're going to move up to 2000. About 9 years later, my mom had cancer nobody knew. It was very advanced. It was in her liver. And by the time they found it, she only had about 5 days to live. She was in Winter Park Hospital. I went to visit her. I was sitting with her, and she was awake. And she said, I hope God sends me a rainbow so I know everything's going to be okay. And she fell asleep. And over my shoulder, out the window, I could see a rainbow in the distance. So they tested her and found out what she had, moved her to the VITAS wing, which was at the hospital at the time. My sister came down from New York, my brother came down from Delaware, and we spent a lot of time with her in that 5-day period. I was home in bed, the phone rang at 2 a.m., I knew what that was about. So I jumped in my car and headed to the hospital. And as soon as I got in my car, the radio was on. I hadn't messed with it, and the song was playing, On the Wings of Love. And it was about halfway through the song, and I was mesmerized by that. My mom loved music, and she sang in almost every church choir of any church that we ever went to. And I said to myself, I wonder what's coming on next. And the very next song that came on was I Can See Clearly Now. And our band has played that song here. And one of the lines in that song is, here is that rainbow I've been praying for. So that got me. So we spent some time with her, and my brother and I were headed to the parking lot. It's probably 3:30 in the morning. And he says, I hope Mom sends me some cardinals so I know she's okay. And she loved cardinals. So her funeral was 5 days later, so about 2 days, my brother and I went to play golf. We were on Winter Park Pines. We were on the 3rd tee box. There's about 4 or 5 cardinals flying around, which was interesting. And one of them lands on the tee box and stares at us, motionless for like 30 seconds. And all I said to my brother, who was standing right next to me, I just said, cardinals? And he said, I guess she's okay. So that was an incredible experience. My first wife, Debbie, passed a year later in 2001. And she told me before she passed that her symbols would be butterflies, rainbows, hawks, and eagles. So I knew what to look for. The first thing I noticed was every time I went out to mow the front lawn, there was a butterfly on this one bush every time for about a month or 6 weeks. And I got used to looking for it because I just expected it to be there. And if I would go stand next to it, it would take off from the bush. It'd fly around me a few times and then land back on the bush. So I knew that was Debbie communicating with me. I'm standing at the kitchen sink doing dishes, not in a very good mood. There's a light rain outside. The sun is filtering through. I hear her say, go outside. I immediately know it's to see a rainbow. And I said, no, I'm not going out in the rain. So I was being stubborn. So about 10 to 15 seconds later, she says again, you really need to go outside. And I said no a second time. And then a little bit later, not much later, she said, if you don't go out now, you're going to miss it. So I did. I went out the front door, worked my way around the garage, and there was a magnificent rainbow at the end of the street. It felt like it was incredibly close to me, and the colors were super vibrant. So I got the rainbow. Now, my youngest daughter got in trouble at school, did something we talked about her not doing, how teenagers can be. And Ronnie and I were dating at the time, and she needed to be picked up. So she wasn't going to call me. So she called Ronnie. So Ronnie went and got her, and she's driving her home. And Ronnie says to my daughter, your mom is not going to let you get away with this kind of stuff. And she says, are you trying to tell me that my mother had something to do with me getting caught? And in that very instant, a hawk swooped right across the hood right across the hood of the car, and it was silence in the car. And my daughter's jaw was on the floor. So that was pretty interesting. And about 3 months ago, I was going to lunch with friends, really good friends. He and I were in the Navy together. His wife and Debbie were good friends. And I'm following them. They're in their car. I'm in my car. A hawk flies right between our cars. And they couldn't see it, but I could. And Debbie says to me, tell them I said hi. I said, okay. Well, they tolerate my spirituality. So we got to the restaurant, and I said, oh, by the way, a hawk flew between our cars. And I know you couldn't see it because it was behind you, but it was Debbie, and Debbie said hi, and they went, okay. Yeah, all right. Okay, Paul. Yeah, thanks for letting us know. Well, the very next day, the two of them are at Epcot eating lunch out by the lake, that big lake they have, and they're outside. And a hawk grabs a fish out of the lake and lands 15 feet from their table and eats the fish right in front of them. And I'm at home, and I get 2 text messages, one from him, one from her, almost simultaneously, with a picture of this hawk, and all it says is, Debbie is here. So they got the message. So Ronnie passed in 2023, a little over 18 months ago. Same lady that I just told the story about is sitting at a red light. Ronnie loved dragonflies. She had dragonfly symbols all over the house. Dragonfly comes down, hovers right in front of her windshield, looking straight at her. Big one. She said it was the biggest dragonfly she's ever seen. And it just stayed right there until the light turned green. And when the light turned green, the dragonfly moved over to the driver's side window and went with her for a ways, and then it headed off. And she called me and told me about that. She was amazed. Now, Ronnie often communicates with me through songs because she used to sing up here. She loves music. I have my probably 200 songs on my phone. I hook it up when I'm in my car. I put it on shuffle, so I never know what's coming up next. And a lot of times if something catches my eye on YouTube, I'll play it. So that happened one day, and I don't know if you've ever listened to Lucy Thomas. She's an incredible singer, and she usually sings covers. She sings other people's songs. And this particular one, she was singing a song by Barbra Streisand called A Woman in Love. And the second verse really caught me, and I really listened to the words. And these are the lyrics of that song, the second verse. With you eternally mine, in love there is no measure of time. We planned it all at the start, that you and I live in each other's heart. We may be oceans away. You feel my love. I hear what you say. So it's the lyrics for me in the song. And I've had a number of songs, even ones that I've heard before and know, but now the lyrics have a special meaning for me. Ronnie's incredibly good with lights. She's done things with the lights in here during service. She's blown out more light bulbs at home than I care to talk about that I've replaced, and she'll flash lights frequently. I don't know where she got this capability from. So my brother and his wife were in town, and we went to John and Susan France's house for dinner, and we're sitting around the dining table chatting, and I could feel Ronnie's presence. So I said to her in my mind, do something with the lights. They don't know you're here. I know you're here, but they don't. Do something with the lights. So about 2 minutes later, the hallway lights started flashing. And everybody saw it. And when I talked to Susan afterwards, she said, I had just had the thought, I wish Ronnie was here when the lights flashed. So that was pretty cool. I was going to Canaveral Seashore National Park. It's a beautiful beach. If you've never been there, it runs from the south end of New Smyrna all the way down to Cape Canaveral. Totally uninhabited, very few parking areas, just really nice. So I just was feeling the call from the ocean, so I went. Before I left the house, during my morning meditation, I lined Debbie and Ronnie up together in my mind and said, I want to see 2 dolphins, one to represent each of you, swimming down the beach line side by side today while I'm there. You have to get real specific with them. And I was there for about an hour and a half, and I'm sitting in my beach chair just enjoying the scenery, and I catch some movement out of this side, and I turn my head, and there's a dolphin just surfaced heading this way. And I said, there's got to be another one, and the second one came up. And those 2 dolphins went down the beach line, swimming side by side, as far as I could see, just the way I had asked. And it was really, really incredible to see that. Okay, some other people's stories. I facilitate a Monday night Zoom group every week for widows and widowers, and we talk a lot about after-death communication. We set that up in cooperation with the Modern Widows Club because they were looking for spiritual support. And so one of them, husband had passed 4 years ago. It's close to Mother's Day. It might have been on Mother's Day or, within a day or two of it. And she's cleaning out an old box, and she notices there's a sealed card in there. Kind of looks, like it might be a birthday card or something. She opens it. It's a Mother's Day card from her husband. And it was magnificent. And of course, how did it get there? When was it written? Who knows? But she took that as a communication from him. Another lady noticed that after her husband passed that there were a lot of crows flying around her more than usual because she lives in Oregon. And so she decided that he was using crows to communicate. So she was looking for a new house. She wanted to move. She said to him, if you see a house you think really works for me, send me a crow. So she looked at a couple. She's going up to this house, I think with her real estate agent, and as they're walking up the walkway, she notices a crow on the fence, sitting there. Goes in, loves the house. Comes out, as soon as they step outside the front door, a bunch of crows take off from a tree. And it's the only house she looked at that day that had crows, and it was the house she liked the best on that day. Now, one of our widowers decided that his wife was communicating to him through their dog, their pet, because of the way the dog would act sometimes. And so he would sit at his computer at his desk, and the dog, if it came to him, would always come to his left side. And he would buy and sell stocks online, and he was going to do that. Dog's on the left side. He's picking up doing whatever he has to do to make a purchase, and he's about to click it. The dog comes behind him, goes to the right side where there's very little room, and bumps his elbow. He can't get the thing to click and it didn't stop. It just kept hitting his elbow until he finally gave up. And he checked that stock later that day. It would have been a bad buy. So he's pretty sure his wife had something to do with that. Now, a very dear friend of mine who lives up north, she, her husband, and her adult children put a puzzle together, one of those kind of complicated ones with all those little pieces, and a piece was missing. They looked for it. Nobody could find it. They finally gave up. 6 months later, the husband passes from an unexpected heart attack. It was one of those ones where he's here 1 second, he's gone the next. And very tragic for the family. She's getting messages from him in the 6-month period after he had passed, but she's not sure if they're real or not. It's the intellectual mind likes to try to dismiss things that come in that way. And so she asked him for a sign. She said, I need a sign from you if this is real. So shortly after that, she gets a call from a friend and says, I got a message from your husband, and he says I can help. And she's not sure exactly what that means, that he can help, but okay. The next day, after that conversation, her mother comes to her, and you can put up that last photograph, with this in her hand. Now, it's been a year since they put this puzzle together. That's the missing piece. And so that was the sign that she needed. And when you talk about missing pieces, you can extrapolate that into so much meaning. So I thought that was just incredible. Okay, that's the end of story time. I could go on and on. So let's take a look at the benefits of after-death communication. The close relationship you had with your loved one continues in a new way. You have an additional spiritual being to help with guidance. The emotional pain associated with grief is reduced, both in severity and duration. Most people find it comforting to know that their loved one is not lost to them and is still an active participant in their lives. Raising your vibration to enhance communication with your loved one will accelerate your own spiritual development. You will experience a higher level of joy, love, and peace in your life. We have experienced that. My Monday night group's been going now for a year and a half. And I have watched people experience a higher level of love and joy as they communicate with their loved one on the other side. So I have some recommendations. Ask for signs and symbols from your loved one. You can ask for general signs or specific signs. Pay close attention to your environment and what is going on around you. It really takes some awareness and some alertness. If you have the thought, I wonder if that was my loved one communicating with me, the answer is almost always yes, or you would not have had the thought in the first place. Pay close attention to things that happen that seem unusual or very coincidental, especially those that seem to be out of sequence with linear time. Dreams of your loved one are often visitations. They are the kind of dreams that you remember when you wake up. They tend to be very vivid dreams, and that applies to pets as well. I've had numerous visitations from my 13-year-old golden retriever that, passed some time ago. Comments from another person may be your loved one speaking to you through them. If their words are incredibly meaningful to you, it probably is. The person speaking to you is usually unaware of what is going on. To them, it's just normal conversation. Now, an example of that is after Debbie had passed, Ronnie and I had known each other for 10 years. I never thought about us ever being a couple or dating. It just never crossed my mind. My oldest daughter's over at my house, and she's working for Ronnie in her medical office, and she says to me, Dad, have you ever thought about dating Ronnie? And I said, no. And she said, well, you really ought to think about that. And I took that as spiritual guidance. I said, something's going on here, more than just my daughter making a comment. So I picked up the phone and called her immediately and said, you want to date? She said, yes. So that's how that whole thing got started. And so if I wasn't paying attention, I could have missed that. And we had 21 incredible years together. And I wouldn't trade that for anything. So it can come through other people. The lyrics of a song you have heard many times may suddenly carry a new meaning for you. Keep a journal of some kind. When it feels like a message or guidance is coming to you from your loved one, write it down. It's a good thing to do. It gives you something you can go back and read and think about, because often their messages are quite layered with meaning. And when we read them a second or third time, we can pick up meaning that we didn't see before. Okay, so we're going to go into meditation now. And what I'd like you to do is pick someone or multiple someones. You can pick as many as you want. And family members on the other side, parents, grandparents, whatever, and you can just line them up or put them in a group. And I'm going to ask you to use the power of your imagination to see them. A lot of times I do this and people say, I don't see anything because my eyes are closed, it's all dark. Use your imagination to see them. And when you see them or you imagine them, if they were very, very old and sick, imagine them a good 20 years younger than that. Healthy, looking vibrant. If it was an infant, imagine 7 to 8 years old, able to communicate. Okay, so play around with that a little bit. You can change the age thing very easily. Okay, so here we go. First of all, we thank you, dear God, for our loved ones' spiritual presence with us. We know they're watching over us. We know that we are still one with them on a spiritual level. And even though they're no longer here physically, we treasure the spiritual relationship that we have with them. It's as strong as it ever was and even stronger. Because their capacity for love has expanded tremendously. They can love us more now. They can help us in ways they couldn't help us before. And so we line them up in front of us. We see them. We notice they're smiling. They're happy. They're joyful. And they're grateful to spend this time with us. We can feel their love for us, their intense, eternal love. We can feel how much they care for us and how much they care about us. And we can sense that they want us to be happy, to be fulfilled in life. And they say to us, you're still here for a reason. My time in the physical realm was over. Yours is not. And so there are still things for you to learn, and I am here to help you. Even though I'm no longer physical, my spiritual essence is stronger than ever. I have access to angels, multitudes of angels. So when you need anything, call to me. Ask me to help you. When you want to feel my love for you, open your heart. For I'm streaming that love to you all the time. And if there's sorrow left, work through the sorrow. Don't stuff it. Don't try to deny it. Let it express itself. And when you're finished with that, come to me with your mind and heart. And I will assist you in every way that I can. Keep your mind, your eyes, and your ears open. For I will communicate with you in multitudinous of ways. Through the birds in the air, the butterflies, the dragonflies, hawks, eagles, pets, bunny rabbits, There are so many ways that I can let you know that I'm here, that I'm watching over you, that I love you, and that I care for you. So call on me whenever you need me. I'm always listening. I know how you feel. I hear your thoughts, and I hear your words, every single one of them. And as much as you can, feel the union of our spirits, the oneness of our spirit. There is no separation in God, and so in spirit there is no separation between you and I. The love that we shared while I was with you on a physical level is stronger now, because I am able to love you even more than I did before. And I do feel your love for me, and I thank you for that. So remember that I'm still here, and I always will be, to watch over you, to guide you, to care for you, to love you, to be present with you, even though you can't see me with your physical eyes. The key to my presence is to notice how you feel. And when you feel that soft, warm glow in your heart, know that is me loving you on a very deep level. Enjoy the rest of your physical life as much as you can. That's what I want for you. Joy and happiness and peace. And so I'm not going to say goodbye. I'm just going to say, we'll talk again later. Because I'm always by your side. Your guardian angel and me are a team now. And we work together for you. And we say to them, to our loved one, thank you. Thank you for the time we had together in the physical, and thank you for the time we still have together in spirit. I treasure you. I love you. And I will keep my eyes and ears open for your messages and for your guidance. And thank you for being with me and for caring for me so much. And as this love pours out, we feel it. We feel the warmth. It's so similar to God's love for us. For love is one. And we say thank you to our loved ones. And we say thank you to God. Amen. Okay.